In 2018, archaeologists in Sweden dug up a Viking grave. Inside, they found a warrior, surrounded by weapons, 2 horses, a full battle kit. Everything pointed to one of the greatest Viking warriors ever buried. For over 100 years, everyone assumed it was a man. Then in 2017, scientists finally tested the DNA. It was a woman, not just any woman. The bones showed she was tall, strong, well-fed, someone who had trained for combat her entire life. She wasn't a warrior's wife. She wasn't buried near a warrior. She was the warrior. Here's the thing, though. She wasn't the only one. Around the world, in burial sites spanning thousands of years, archaeologists have found the same thing over and over again. Women. Buried with weapons, buried with armor, buried with the tools of warriors and hunters. In Kazakhstan, researchers found burial mounds of ancient Scythian women buried with bows, arrows, iron swords, and daggers. These weren't decorations. These weren't ceremonial objects placed there to look nice. The weapons showed signs of real use, wear marks, battle damage, the kind that only comes from actually fighting. Some of the skeletons showed injuries, the kind you get in close combat. These women had fought, and their communities honored them for it. You've heard of the Amazons, the legendary female warriors of ancient Greek mythology. Most people assume they were fiction, a myth, a story made up by ancient storytellers. But here's what's fascinating. The ancient Greeks didn't just invent the Amazons out of nowhere, they had contact with the Scythian people, a nomadic culture from the Eurasian steppe. And among the Scythians, women warriors were real. DNA testing on Scythian burial sites found that roughly 1/3 of all women buried showed signs of being warriors or hunters. 1/3. Not a rare exception. Not one special woman in 1,000 years of history. 1 in every 3 women in some of these communities was a fighter. The Greeks saw these women, they traded with them, they fought against them, and then they went home and wrote stories about warrior women so incredible that nobody believed they were real. They were real. But it's not just warriors. In 2020, researchers in Peru made a discovery that made headlines worldwide. They found an ancient burial site, dating back 9,000 years. Inside, a big game hunter, surrounded by hunting tools, projectile points, scraping tools, everything a skilled hunter would need. They assumed it was a man. They checked the DNA. It was a woman. And when researchers went back and looked at other burial sites from the same time and region, they found something remarkable. Out of 27 burial sites containing big game hunting tools, 11 of them were women. That's over 40%. For 9,000 years, we assumed ancient hunters were men. The bones told a different story. So how did we miss this for so long? The answer is uncomfortable. When archaeologists found a grave with weapons in it, they wrote "male warrior" in their notes, without testing the bones, without checking the DNA, just assumed. When they found a grave with jewelry or cooking tools, they wrote "female," again without checking. This happened for decades, across hundreds of digs. At sites around the world, scientists call this confirmation bias. You see what you expect to see. And for most of history, people expected women to stay home. So that's what they wrote down. In 2017, a team of researchers went back through old burial records, sites where assumptions had been made without DNA testing. They found that a significant number of graves labeled "male warrior" were actually women. Not a few, not a handful. Enough to change the entire picture of how ancient societies worked. So what does this actually mean? It means the story we were told about ancient life was incomplete. For generations, history books showed us the same picture. Men hunted, men fought, men led, women cooked, women gathered, women waited. That picture wasn't based on evidence. It was based on assumption. And assumption after assumption built up into a story that felt like fact but wasn't. The real picture is different. In many ancient communities, women hunted alongside men, fought alongside men, were buried with the same honors as men. Some were buried with more. That Viking woman in Sweden? Her grave was larger and more richly equipped than most of the male warriors buried around her. She wasn't just accepted as a warrior, she was celebrated as one of the greatest. Here's the part that stays with you. These women didn't need history to record them. They didn't need statues or monuments. They just lived, they hunted, they fought, they led their communities. They were buried with honor. And then for thousands of years, people dug up their graves and assumed they were men. The women were there the whole time, in the ground, waiting to be seen. History isn't always wrong because someone lied. Sometimes it's wrong because no one stopped to check. These women checked out. Every bone, every weapon, every burial tells us the same thing. Ancient women were not background characters in human history. They were warriors, hunters, leaders. They just had to wait a few thousand years for someone to finally look at the evidence and see them.